am Roxanne Lerma, the Director of Communications and Media for this great three-time All-America city. We thank you for joining us for the second annual Hurricane Preparedness Press Conference. I'm certainly honored to be your Master of Ceremonies today as we come together to address the safety and preparedness of our communities in the face of potential hurricanes. This press conference serves as a crucial platform to disseminate vital information, to share best practices, and foster that collaboration that we need amongst key stakeholders. So together we're going to outline strategies to safeguard our citizens, mitigate any risks, and enhance our ability to respond swiftly, effectively, and efficiently. Today's conference will feature some expert speakers here in the front row who are going to delve into various aspects of hurricane preparedness, including evacuation plans, some communication systems, and post-storm recovery efforts. Their valuable insights will empower us to take decisive action and ensure that every single one of us is well equipped to face any challenges that lie ahead. And we've already seen the storms that we've had, so we're hoping it's not going to be an active season. Before we start today, I do want to take a second to recognize some of our Edinburgh City Council this morning, our Mayor, Ramiro Garza Jr., our City Manager, Ms. Mayra Ayala. We also have some very special guests joining us this morning, EMC and Assistant City Manager for the City of McAllen, Mr. Jeff Johnston. Our Hidalgo County Judge, Richard Cortez. Emergency Management Coordinator for the county, Rick Saldana. Our Assistant Chief for TDEM, the Texas Division of Emergency Management, Mr. Tony Peña. Also our District Coordinator for TDEM, Mr. Robert Alvarez. City of Mission, Assistant City Manager, David Flores. City of FAR, EMC, Danny Ramirez. We all know him and love him, KRGV, Tim Smith. And also our new Fire Chief for Mission, Adrian Garcia, be with us today. Thank you for joining us. Okay, let us begin today with Hidalgo County Judge Richard Cortez, who's going to give us a brief overview of the 2023 hurricane season.
Thank you and good morning. I want to start by thanking, of course, Mayor Garza and his commission for hosting this very important press conference for us to be able to prepare the public for this coming hurricane season. You know, Colorado State University, which is the gold standard for hurricane prediction, believes that 2023 will be slightly below average hurricane season with about 13 named storms because of the weather pattern known as El Nino. Even though this season may bring below average numbers of storm, preparedness is always something that we must constantly preach. Texas is the second most active hurricane state in the country, just behind Florida. And while Hidalgo County may be inland, we must remember that hurricanes bring them rain and flooding. In fact, in 2017, Hurricane Harvey produced more than 60 inches of rain in the small inland community of Port Arthur, Texas, in just 24 hours. Wow. Technology and experience puts us in a position that we can minimize property damage and loss of life with a few key preparations. First, be informed. This press conference is part of that process. The public must keep itself up to date with credible information. Do not rely solely on social media. Look for sources of information, whether it be government or the media or other legitimate organizations. Next, make a plan. Speak to your family in advance about where to meet, where to go, and how to check things when disaster happens. That plan should always include your pets. Finally, build a kit. Have important papers such as passports, insurance policies, written contract information, medicines, and batteries, all in a bag that you will grab if you need to go. A good plan of resource, or good planning resource, excuse me, is found in www.texasready.gov. While we intend to have some fun after this press conference with our cooking demonstration for emergencies, the key message is that we all need to plan for things like feeding our families without power. Thank you, and thank all of you for being here.
Thank you, Judge. We can't wait to see you cook. He's going to be one of our chef extraordinaires today. I like that. Good. It's usually that way. Now let's move on to our municipalities. Please welcome Edinburgh Mayor Ramiro Garza Jr. to discuss the Regional Drainage Committee and also the importance of preparing emergency supplies ahead of time. Mayor.
Good morning. Thank you all so much for being here. And Judge, you're always welcome here at our City Hall, as well as all of you. I want to thank all the other cities, all the other organizations that are here. I think we did this last year, I think at the university. It's so beneficial to not only our city, but to the region, because the key, we talked about Regional Drainage Committee, is communication. Not just communication among all our law enforcement emergency management partners, but also as elected officials. It's so important that we communicate. And I think that's one of the biggest benefits of coming together as cities, is how do we communicate and understand what each of us are doing. And I think that's part of the biggest benefit. This committee has been formed a few years now, and what we're doing is just sharing what each of us are doing. How does it connect with our neighboring cities? Here in Edinburgh, we have the advantage of being connected to so many different jurisdictions, being the northern part of the city. So we don't have a choice anymore. Whether we want to work together with our neighbors or not, we have to. Our residents deserve that, and that's why I'm really excited about that. As Ms. Roxanne mentioned, this Regional Drainage Committee is just the cities that are here in this county. We like to include other cities throughout the region as well that are always welcome to be a part of this. And it's really to coordinate our efforts. And I want to thank all the cities that have been a part of this. We have not had a meeting. We need to have one very soon again. June 1st is next week when Hurricane Preparedness kicks off. And we want to make sure we're ready and we're prepared. But as has been mentioned, we had a storm recently. We're talking about in Laguna Heights, and please keep that area in your prayers. The tornado touchdown, and that wasn't even a hurricane. So it tells you how important it is that we plan ahead, as the judge outlined, within our household, within our area where we live, looking out for one another. Hurricane season is here, but it's throughout the year that we need to be planning. Power goes out, and right away we start panic, right? And I guess the most important thing is that there is a plan that you have ahead of time, that we let each other know, our neighbors, our neighborhood, keep in touch. I know there's a lot of chat groups out there, because I get calls from our neighbors that there's different neighborhood chat groups. Great, that's a very effective tool, but charge your phones. Have your phones up to date and make sure that you're prepared. Some of the emergency supplies, and the judge may have touched on this, that we encourage is non-perishable food, several days supply, water 1 gallon per person per day for several days for drinking, and sanitation is recommended. Medications, extra batteries, first aid supplies, battery powered or hand crank radio, flashlight. Those are just some of the things that I think are important to have in place. And stay connected with your family, with your neighbors, as I mentioned. Can't stress that enough. And I know together we can look out for one another and be as prepared as we can be. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Mayor. So now moving to evacuation plans, please welcome McAllen Assistant City Manager and EMC, Mr. Jeff Johnston.
Good morning, and thank you all very much. It's a pleasure to be here on behalf of Mayor Javier Villalobos, who was unable to attend this morning. I just want to say, I look around at some of the faces in the room. I've been doing emergency management here in the Valley for over 20 years, as have some of the other people in the room. And I see that that was taken into consideration with my topic because they did not ask me to talk about cooking. They asked me to discuss evacuation, which is what you probably want to do if I cook, but I think that was very appropriate. But Judge Cortez, I just want to thank you so much for the leadership that you give and for always helping us and participating as we go through preparedness items. And then obviously, Mayor Garza, thank you so much for hosting the event here this morning. As we all know, natural disasters are a reality for us here in South Texas. It's not if something happens, it's when it's going to happen. And as was mentioned, we've seen that here just in the last few weeks here in South Texas. So despite the name, the Rio Grande Valley is actually not a valley, as we know. We're actually a flat delta, and the chance of flooding throughout the area is real. And so as we've just heard from Mayor Garza and the Quad City Drainage Program and their committee, just as impactful could be damage from wind and other items related to hurricanes. So while rain events, as we've seen in the last few weeks, could catch us by surprise, the good thing, typically, not always, but typically with hurricanes, is we know a little bit in advance that they may be coming. And so the key to planning when it comes to hurricane preparedness is also to make sure that you know what you will do if a mandatory evacuation order is given. Residents need to be prepared to evacuate if the mayor or the county judge issues such an order. And remember that in Texas, evacuation orders can be mandatory, and so we need to be prepared for that. I always tell people, if you've got that brother or sister that lives in San Antonio or Austin or wherever, you need to be sending them Christmas gifts every year, because that may be where you want to stay when you evacuate from South Texas. So some of the things that you need to plan for is, where will you go? What route would you take? Who will you need to take with you? And what do you need to take? So evacuees from the Rio Grande Valley can either go north on Highway 281 or west on Highway 83. And it's important to know which direction you're going to be going, how much fuel you're going to need to get there. And then, of course, one of the tips that we always give during hurricane season is make sure that your fuel tank is never less than half full. Keep it topped off so that if you need to leave in an emergency, in a hurry, you can go ahead and make that trip. As you've heard from Mayor Garza, we need to make sure that our supplies are in place, and that would include, again, water, non-perishable foods, batteries, so on and so forth, medicine and supplies. And we also always encourage people, if you're taking your pets, make sure you're taking pet food with you. If you're taking your children with you, you're going to not only want baby food, but depending on the age of your kids, take something for them to do, or you may have several hours of what? Are we there yet, right? So make sure that you have something there for them to do. Hopefully we won't have a mandatory evacuation, and if so, it won't last long, but also be sure, if an evacuation takes place, that you are staying in touch with your local community leaders, because you do want to be sure that the evacuation order has been lifted before you return back home. Even though the storm may have passed, there could still be debris, floodwaters, etc. So we need to make sure that we're in touch. And then if you have not signed up for your specific community's emergency alerts, make sure that you do that. It is an excellent way to be sure that you're staying in touch with your local emergency orders. Many factors go into evacuation orders, but the most important thing, again, for you to do is to remember that nothing that you own is worth your life or your family's life. That's what insurance is for, but we have to take care of our families. And when an order is given, we always want to encourage people, don't stay behind. Take your family, take care of them, and then come back later and take care of what you need. Nothing is more important than your life, your family's life. Material possessions can be replaced, so please follow any orders and be sure to evacuate. Thank you so much, and God bless you.
Thanks, Jeff. Great information. So after a storm, keeping track of the damage is absolutely essential. For more on that, please welcome Missions Assistant City Manager and EMC, Mr. David Flores.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here, Judge, amongst some great people here in emergency management. I'm glad to be here. I want to let you all know that your city and county emergency managers stand ready. However, recovery takes all of us. Every resident, every business, every institution, every government agency can help. Recovery begins when your emergency managers respond. freezes, straight line winds, hurricanes, major rain events that lead to flooding. When we respond, recovery efforts begin. Recovery is a process that brings things back to normal as quickly as possible, but it takes all of us. Citizens of Hidalgo County, you can help us to help you. The Individual State of Texas Assessment Tool, ISTAT as it's known, is a state-supported damage assessment tool used by impacted residents to assist state and local officials identify damage to private homes and businesses. This data, compiled and submitted by disaster survivors via online tool, provides the necessary documentation to be used during the preliminary damage assessment process. Whether the state of Texas and our communities to meet the federal thresholds for disaster assistance. The information is rolled up to the Texas Division of Emergency Management and collects valuable information that we need to help during the recovery process. From my perspective, an emergency manager, this is the most important tool that we can have to be able to get things back to normal as quickly as possible. This information is in both English and Spanish, the system, and thank you, and everyone stay safe.
Thank you, David. So, as we all know, communication is key during critical weather events. To help us with that side of things, please welcome Danny Ramirez, City of FAR Emergency Management Coordinator.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for the invite, Judge, Mayor, on behalf of the City of FAR and Mayor Hernandez. My name is Danny Ramirez. I'm the EMC and EMS Chief for the City of FAR. And so what I'm talking about is communication. So how do we as a city and a county communicate with the public when we have a disaster, a hurricane, a storm, or just want to get some information out? There's a lot of modes of communication that are out there now. So social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, making sure that the public's aware. I know the judge mentioned earlier is making sure that it's coming from a government agency, not just your neighbor posting something or somebody else posting something that they see. It needs to come from a government agency, whether it's the city, NOAA, the state, or even coming from our news partners, right? Some good intel is not just listening to anybody. Mass notification systems. Every city in the Rio Grande Valley has their own mass notification systems, whether it's Code Red or Everbridge. Make sure you as a resident register with that system so that if something is going on in your city, you get that information. And you're gonna get a text, a phone call, and an email, and it's gonna keep calling you until you answer it, right? And so that's how we get that information out. The other thing about registering with a system such as Everbridge or Code Red is that other cities throughout the United States use that. And so if you happen to be somewhere else and there's a disaster or something happens, you'll still get that message if you're in that area. IPAWS, which is the Integrated Public Alert and Warning System. So IPAWS is, everybody knows Amber Alert, right? Your phone goes off and hey, something happened, there's an Amber Alert. IPAWS is what controls the Amber Alert system. We in the Rio Grande Valley have the capability to do that on your phones. In conjunction with the county of Hidalgo, Star, Cameron, and Willacy, we have a system set up, IPAWS, and it's run through the FAR Public Safety Communication System where we can send that. It's not sent out very often because we all have to agree to send that information out. It's like anything else. Once you start receiving information constantly, you tend to ignore it, right? So we don't want to send that information out a lot. The IPAWS can go out county-wide, which means everybody's phones is going to go off, or we can also do geofencing, so particular cities, particular areas. So if there's a lost child somewhere, or there's only flooding in a certain area, we can actually select that area, and only the people in that area will get that message. Radio, we talked about having a weather radio, having batteries for that, so AM and FM radio stations, and getting that information out. And last but not least, our media partners. They're very, very important on getting the information out when we are doing things such as preparation, when we're preparing to hand sandbags out, when we set up sites for people to come dispose of debris, when the weather's coming in. So it's very, very important as a community that you're always aware that we're sending that information out. It's important to be looking for it and that it's coming from a viable source. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you, Danny. Safety is key during severe weather. To bring us up to speed on that portion, please welcome Interim Fire Chief and our EMC, Mr. Baldi Pettis.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Judge, for being here, and Mayor, thank you. So what we're going to talk about is a motto that is out there on flood safety, which is turn around, don't drown. And what that is talking about is anytime that there are any kind of flooded roadways, you want to turn around and don't drown. According to CDC reports, the one most deadly hazard after disasters is drowning. So whenever our citizens are out and about and there's flood waters on our roadways, we ask that you turn around and don't drown. Anytime we put up any kind of barricade, caution tape, maybe even a vehicle, it's there for a reason. What you may not know is the road under that water may have been washed away. Um, People not knowing what kind of current is going on with the water. 6 inches of moving water can knock down an adult. 12 inches of water can sweep away a small car or an SUV. And 2 feet of water can sweep away a truck. So at any point you feel that you can make it, we don't want you to do that. We don't want you to try. We want you to turn around and don't drown. One of the other safety issues that we want to address to our citizens is the use of generators. Generators are a great alternative to having power when there is no power available on the electrical grid. But they also present a lot of hazards. One of them is the carbon monoxide that is produced by these generators. So what we ask our citizens is that if you are going to use a generator, please use it in a well-ventilated area, meaning not inside the home, not inside a garage, or nowhere near any of the doors or windows to your home. Partially ventilated is not a solution. Using fans in your home to ventilate is not a solution either. So please, if you are going to use a generator, please have it well away from the structure. Electrical safety. Now I know, this is always a man thing. We want to plug in as many things as we can into one outlet. We don't want to do that, all right? Whatever size generator you have, make sure that it is capable of powering whatever appliance or device you want to use. So you're going to have to kind of make a choice. Charging phones, that's a good reason. Maybe your refrigerator to keep stuff cold or frozen. But don't go overboard and plug everything else in, gaming systems and TVs and all that kind of stuff. Just something to try to bring a little bit of coolness maybe to your family and be able to sustain some of your supplies. The next thing is when you're refueling your generator, please make sure that you refuel it again away from your home in an open area. Let the generator cool down for a little while before you start to pour the gasoline so that no vapors can ignite. So again, if using a generator, please be safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. So I think that we're all pretty familiar with our county and our city resources, but did you know that we actually have state assets that are readily available to help our region as well through the Texas Division of Emergency Management? Our final speaker this morning, TDEM Assistant Chief Tony Pena, is going to give us a rundown on that.
Judge, Mayor, thank y'all for having us here, and for the rest of the mayors and the rest of the elected officials that are not here, thank y'all. So on behalf of Governor Abbott, Chancellor Sharp, Chief Kidd, and the Texas Division of Emergency Management, y'all, everybody that's presented here, it's hard to follow up on everything they've said because each one of y'all took all my talking points. So I'm kind of speechless now. So what I'm going to emphasize is we, the state of Texas, are here to help support our local governments, whether it's county or cities, to bring assets that are at the state level to assist y'all in everything that y'all are doing to help our citizens. I'm going to add to something that everybody's talked about is preparation. So Preparation is key to everything that we do on a daily basis. We as individuals, as residents of the county, residents of the cities, need to be prepared. Emergency management doesn't start at our level. It doesn't start with the emergency management people, the government, the state government, local government, or county government. It starts with each and every one of you all that's out there watching this program. Be prepared, not just for 3 days, but go to 5 to 10 days of preparation, because that's what it's going to take. We've all experienced recently hailstorms, rainfall, high winds, and Judge, Colorado University is great, but all it takes is one storm to hurt us, and it can hurt us bad. And we've seen it in the past. Many of us have survived many of those storms and have moved on to be here and use our experiences. So Plan A should never be the government at any level. Plan A should be your plan, the plan that individually that you have for you and your family and your pets. Take care of yourself, take care of each other, and reach out to your neighbors. We all have neighbors that we don't meet till the crisis occurs. When the electricity goes out, you go out of your apartment and it's like, or your house, and it's like, oh, you live there? How long you been living there? Oh, 20 years. I'm like, wow, my gosh, I didn't know that. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other. Y'all took my talking points. What can I say? God bless each and every one of you all, and here's for a great season with very little activity from nature.
Thank you, Chief. Our collective commitment to preparedness extends well beyond this gathering. It is a year-round effort demanding proactive measures from each and every one of us. By emphasizing the importance of personal readiness, we can minimize the impact of hurricanes and protect our families, our neighbors, our properties, our businesses. I would like to express our deepest gratitude to all of our speakers in our cities, our state, our county for joining us, all of the organizers who have contributed their time and expertise to make this event possible. I think together that we demonstrate our shared dedication to the safety and well-being of our beautiful Rio Grande Valley. That concludes our press conference today. For the members of the media, if you would like to do any one-on-ones with our speakers, you can do that immediately after the presser in the back of the room so that we can begin preparing for Hidalgo counties, City of Edinburgh, and Texas AgriLife Cooking School for Emergencies. We're all excited to see how this is going to go down. We thank you for joining us, and we hope that you all have a wonderful day.